Democrats want to sit there and accuse Republicans of being these so-called election deniers. What's wrong? Don't you trust our elections? There's no way illegal immigrants can vote in our federal elections. Well, how about this? So this is an article from the Associated Press. Number of voters with unconfirmed citizenship documents more than doubles in battleground Arizona. Huh. Well, that seems awfully weird considering how I thought we were told there was no way illegals can vote in our elections. That's pretty interesting. So let's scroll down here. So the number of voters in the battleground state of Arizona classified as having full access to the ballot without confirmation, they are citizens, has more than doubled to 218,000, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes has said. Wow, that is a whole lot of people, 218,000. I mean, it's not like we're talking about 4 or 5 people here. And even if we were talking about 4 or 5 people, that still can sway an election. That still discredits 4 or 5 legal ballots. That's disenfranchising legal voters. And this is exactly why conspiracy theories start up in the first place. Now it's not even a conspiracy theory. It is just a conspiracy, just like all the other conspiracy theories we've talked about. How many conspiracy theories have turned into just conspiracies in the last 8 years? I think we are I don't know. I think we're at 99.9% of them. And this is another one. These people have to get our elections under control. 218,000, that is a huge number. I mean, that can most definitely sway an election when you're talking about 2 million votes. Out of the state of Arizona, Donald Trump lost Arizona by 10,000 votes. And here it is, we have 218,000 votes out there, or ballots, without any confirmation that it's actual citizens that are voting. So the number represents 5.3% of all registered voters. While the error won't change who is eligible to vote for president or Congress, that amount of voters could sway tight local and state races and hotly contested ballot measures on abortion and immigration. Arizona is unique in that it requires residents to prove citizenship to vote a full ballot, a requirement dating back to 2014. If they don't do that, but attest under penalty or perjury to being citizens, they can vote in federal races only. Driver's licenses issued after 1996 are considered valid documented proof of citizenship, but the system error marked the original batch of voters who had pre-1996 licenses as eligible to vote in state and local races. Fuentes announced Monday that the number of misclassified voters jumped from about 98,000 last month to 218,000. It's unclear how officials missed the additional block of voters. Oh, I'm sure it's unclear how they could possibly have missed this additional block of voters. After saying 2 weeks ago that an error between the state's voter registration database and motor vehicle division, or the MVD, had been fixed. Aaron Thacker, a spokesperson for Fuentes' office, said Tuesday that the fix that MVD put in place didn't solve the problem. The Arizona Department of Transportation, which oversees the MVD, said in an email that it created a coding update in its system but didn't specify when it was implemented. Arizona's GOP chairwoman Gina Swoboda stated that the party, which initially supported Fuentes, is now criticizing him for causing voters to lose total confidence in him. Yeah. Not just him, but our freaking elections, man. I mean, when you're dealing, it's one thing when you have this type of crappy election process in your state for your local races and ballot measures, but when you're talking about a swing state, a hotly contested swing state that's, that could go either way, 218,000, I mean, this creates complete chaos in our system and massive mistrust in our elections. So if these people want Republicans to accept the results of the election, then maybe they should get this shit right. So that after the election, people know that there wasn't possibly 218,000 people that voted that shouldn't have. Quote, now we find out that he hasn't been as forthcoming with Arizonians as we would have hoped, she told the Associated Press. Quote, we find that troubling and will be taking additional action in the coming days. She did not specify what the additional action would be. Around Arizona, a relatively small number of votes could tip the scales in competitive races for the legislature. Where Republicans hold a slim majority in both chambers this year, voters also will decide on the constitutional right to abortion and a measure to criminalize people from entering the state illegally from Mexico. The Arizona Supreme Court ruled last month that the original batch of voters can cast a full ballot in this year's election because they registered long ago and attested under the penalty of perjury that they are citizens. The justices said that voters were not at fault for the error and shouldn't be disenfranchised so close to the November 5th general election. 4 years they had, folks, to fix this. 4 years. And here we are, 32 days out from an election. And it's like, whoops, sorry. We just found these, 218,000 people that can't prove citizenship. Our bad. The Arizona Supreme Court ruled last month that the original batch of voters can cast a full ballot in this year's election because they registered long ago and attested under... Okay, whatever. Fuentes said that the ruling should also apply to the new batch of voters, who are nearly evenly split among Democrats, Republicans, and voters who aren't registered with either of those parties. In Oregon, 1,200 people who did not provide proof of citizenship when registering to vote were kicked from the state voter rolls by officials. Why are all these people... Why are all these people out there? Like, it is, and folks, this is exactly why people do not trust that the 2020 election was legit. Is because of shit just like this. These people, because of the pandemic, went state to state. Mark Elias, Perkins Coie went state to state weeks and months before the election, changing election laws illegally in some cases, just weeks before the election. And then after the election comes out, in a mass chaos, weeks of voting, with drop boxes, mail-in ballots all over God's creation, they say, well, why don't you trust the results? Except that Donald Trump lost. It's because of shit like this. So you have 218,000 possible people that shouldn't be voting, that are going to be possibly voting in this election, we don't know. And then you had 1,200 people removed from Oregon's election rolls, voter rolls. I mean, something's got to get done here, man. And I'm telling you right now, after this election, both sides are going to use stuff just like this to contest the election. And they would be right to. I never understood why Democrats don't want secure elections. I mean, it clearly makes people wonder, like who wouldn't want secure, honest, and transparent elections? Obviously, anybody that doesn't is cheating, right? I mean, that's the only motive that could be there. So what's going to happen is after the election, all this stuff is going to get brought up. But my question is, how much of this shit was happening in the 2020 election? What did they say? It was the most secure election in U.S. history? I mean, what the hell, man? I find it a little bit coincidental that they find all this 30 days before the election, after we've had 4 years to do this. And Arizona is, like I said, a swing state. Donald Trump lost Arizona by 10,000 votes. We're talking about 218,000 votes here, 5.3% of all registered voters. So again, Democrats want to sit there and badmouth Republicans about being election deniers, want to sit there and put Donald Trump and his voters through struggle sessions about Donald Trump losing the election, when we have this shit out there. We have to get this under control. Same-day voting and voter ID. It is the only way. Both sides are going to be able to go home after the election knowing that it was free and fair. But stuff like this, nobody's going to accept the election. And this goes both ways, too. So if Donald Trump wins, are you going to feel like the election was legit, knowing that there was possibly 218,000 people out there that couldn't prove their citizenship? We have to get this under control. And the crazy thing to me is They made all these changes, like I said, in some cases illegally, in some states, because they didn't go through the proper channels. You had governors and DAs and AGs changing election laws that state legislatures are supposed to change. You can't just have a governor come out and with the swipe of a pen change election laws. Well, that's what happened in some states because of the pandemic. And what they told us was the most transparent and secure election in U.S. history turned out to be the exact opposite. It's the most untransparent, most unsecure election we've ever seen in U.S. history. Why are you guys denying the election? It's so crazy, man.